Hello everyone, just a quick message before we start and get into the first episode. We did have a couple of technical issues. We had a couple of audio issues throughout the episode. The video was definitely out of sync for the most part. This is our first episode. We just ask you to be patient with us. We're going to be switching softwares next week, and we hope you enjoy the episode. I'm Sean from Offload Rugby Media.
I'm Simeon from the TikTok Ref.
Guys, I'm Murray, also known as Blissful Rugby HQ.
And you're listening to the Rugby Connection podcast.
For the fans, by fans.
Hello and welcome to the Rugby Connection podcast. For the fans, by the fans. I'm Murray, I'm also known as Blissful Rugby HQ. We've got Sean, who's also Offload Rugby Media, and Simeon, also known as the TikTok Ref. How are we, lads?
Very good. Yeah, thanks, Murray. Yeah, thanks, Murray.
Brilliant, thank you.
Glad to hear it. So this is episode 1, we've finally done it. We wouldn't have been here without our amazing fans and followers. Like, it is unreal. Like, we cannot thank you enough. Like, especially with being patient with us regarding the issue we had last week. The support that is unreal. So just thank you to everyone.
Yeah, no, fans are truly amazing. Yeah, wouldn't be without you, your boys. Yeah.
Anyway, so what we're going to do in this show is we're going to talk about Premiership, Pro 14, Super Rugby, the MLR. Simeon's going to have a little referee thing. We're going to talk about some squad selections, maybe some news. Hopefully we'll have some guests on in the future, and at the end of the show we'll answer some questions from the fans. Let's get straight into it, lads. So just as it's the first episode, we're going to do a little rugby background for you. So Simeon, tell me about your background.
So, started playing when I was 13 years old down at Caerphilly Rugby Club from my school. Played up through the age grade, got my offer to referee for level 1. And from there, it just kicked off. I got into the Educator Blues Region course with WRU, and then got into the Academy for Referees. And since then, it's just been an amazing experience up with Welsh Rugby Union, learning curves everywhere. And I can't wait to get back into reffing literally 2 weeks ago, and I'm back on the pitch, blowing a whistle. And then in a couple of months, I'm up to Edinburgh, reffing for Edinburgh Rugby. And I can't wait for that as well.
Great stuff. Sean, how about you?
Yeah, I started playing rugby when I was 6. My dad dragged me down. He didn't really play rugby too much as a kid. He dragged me down. I didn't really enjoy it. He was actually a coach, and that's the only reason why I kept playing. I kind of hated rugby when I started off. When I was 6, I was going down on a cold Saturday morning. I was always freezing. I didn't like tackling. Really didn't enjoy it. But yeah, Dad kept kind of dragging me down. I enjoyed the fact that Dad was a coach. That's the only bit that I enjoyed. So I kept going down. Then I started to enjoy it when I was about 10 or 11, get my hands on the ball. And then, yeah, not too much success with the club, unfortunately, but I'm enjoying it. And then 3 years ago, I got into coaching, or maybe 4 years ago now, with the under 13 side or under 12s. I'm really enjoying that on the side. So, yeah, doing a bit of playing and coaching, and I'm loving every single minute.
Great to hear. So I played at primary school level. I didn't enjoy it because it was touch at the time, and I wanted to be playing contact with the big boys. Played right through high school, played at Glenrothes, where I'm from, played at Kirkcaldy. I got hurt playing at Kirkcaldy, had to stop playing for a while, and I'm back at rugby now. It's my first senior level, and I'm at Howe Fife now. So yeah, can't wait, I'm just itching to get back, but I've been told there's fixtures in September, so can't wait, time's ticking on that one.
Yeah, getting back to the pitch will be something special.
Let's just hope I don't end up there sending you off, Murray.
Just a disclaimer to all the fans there. If Simeon doesn't referee my game and sends me off, I will not be on the show that week. I won't speak to him. It's fine.
We'd love to see that. Oh, the yellow card comes out already. We're only 3 minutes into the pod, lads.
Right, let's get straight into it. So, Premiership from the weekend. Any thoughts, lads?
Well, where do we start? I believe the first game was Sharks versus Harlequins, and the Sharks destroyed it.
Absolutely. I put in my video that it was going to be like a semi-final teaser. Both teams were really up for it, but Quins went the opposite route and went like a very rotational like squad, and Sale went full go and just absolutely went for it. I mean, 45-12. Like, the only hitch in their giddy up was really Faf de Klerk getting yellow carded, and it didn't even seem to slow them down. So
on that yellow card very quickly was definitely a yellow. went in the shoulder, hit him in the chest. The joke I've seen around with Bataclerk was never going to be tall enough to make that a red card, and he was never going to make it. Quickly on Sharks, how they played. They got near the try line, they scored. Their red line efficiency was outstanding.
Also, just another quick one on Sale. How good is Johan van Rensburg? Like, he's unreal. He was out injured. He scored that chip over. He's made it ridiculously easy, like a video game almost.
I put in my note the chip try, outstanding, just like Scotland back in the Six Nations.
Yep, definitely. Oh, thanks for bringing that up.
Oh, you.
Anyway, Leicester Tigers versus Bristol Bears. I can see Simeon already fizzing at it. But let's talk about just the score line to begin with. 26-23, Bristol get their win, get their home semi-final confirmed. What do you think? I think Bears were personally. I think Bears were sleeping on it, and Tigers were going right for it. And yeah, just Bears got very lucky in my opinion.
I will get to the referee section later. Stay tuned to what I analyse that whole situation. But from watching it, Leicester looked like they played like the old Leicester. Forwards were strong, mauls were good, played like the old Leicester. Bristol kind of playing like the old Bristol just like a couple of seasons ago. Not looking like this semi-final team, but scoring some fantastic tries, but not fully getting on everything, not getting on the end of everything they should have been, like they have been throughout the most of the season. It's looking, have Bristol peaked too early? Well, we'll find out soon.
I think they might have. I think they were so angry of last season that they were pushing for it, and obviously they won the Challenge Cup last year, and rightfully so, but they've just not. They've tried to take it up a step, but it's like they've done it too early, like you've just said, Simeon. But I don't know. We'll have to wait. We've got one more full round to go, but yeah. Newcastle versus Worcester.
Just on that, sorry, I was just going to say, just on the Leicester-Bristol game, that seemed like an unbelievable game. First off, I'm very jealous of the supporters who got there, and there was a pretty buzzing atmosphere there from the Leicester and the Bristol fans. I just thought that Max Malins played pretty well. I thought he was solid. And obviously Piatau and Radradra were tearing it up. So, Bristol are dangerous. And then some of the young guns like Harry Randall were playing pretty well as well. So I think Bristol definitely, obviously they're in the semi-finals, could go all the way. But Leicester, in fairness to them, as Simeon said, they're back to the old Leicester.
Definitely. Right, on to Newcastle versus Worcester. All I'm going to say is Adam Radwan. Oh my God, that boy is wheels. Unreal. 2 amazing tries. Spoiler, if you've not watched my video yet, it will be my try of the week. He's my player of the week. He's that good. I'm not even giving him try of the week, it's player of the week. 2 phenomenal tries, made it look ridiculously easy. Absolutely phenomenal. 24-14 win to Newcastle. Yeah, can't complain.
Newcastle had control of that game to the last few minutes. Worcester's defence lacking. Newcastle extremely good on the width, I've written down. A lot of tries in the corner, using their wingers extremely well. Good comeback from last week's win against Exeter, hold that game. And to keep Worcester out for 60 minutes, big improvement, something for Newcastle to take forward.
Yeah, definitely. I always like Newcastle because they're not like a threat to the title, and I don't really ever see them getting relegated, in my opinion. Obviously, they're trying to ring-gate that now, so you can't get relegated, but I feel like I'd love to see Newcastle go for like a nice Challenge Cup run.
Agreed.
They did all right last year as well.
Yeah, definitely. So,
in the Challenge Cup, yeah.
Always onwards and upwards. Right, London Irish and Wasps. 39-36 to Wasps. I think London Irish bottled it because I was watching the game and I wasn't like proper like watching it as much as I wanted to, but it was 36-23 to London Irish at one point, and then full time 39-36. I'm like, you just bottled it. That's all I can say. Like, yes, Wasps are a good team, and fair play to Josh Bassett. 2 tries on his 100th start for Wasps, but like, how do you lose such a big gap in such a little amount of time? It's absolutely unreal.
For the people who didn't watch, sadly we couldn't get the show up last week, and I mentioned it then. Irish, I said last week, overplayed and bottled it against Gloucester. I say they did the same thing again. Second intercept try against them in a week. They're clearly overplaying too much. I think as well, on your point of Bassett, I think you've got 2 potential Summer England starters in Marcus Watson and Josh Bassett. Good wingers there. Watson, I put down, I just thought he was outstandingly. He's fast. He is, from the Seventh Circuit, he is rapid, that player. And I think he'd be good to play against Canada and the USA for England.
Yeah, can't argue with that at all. And lastly, Northampton versus XR. I mean, I was on the edge of my seat. I was actually on the phone call to Sean when the game was on, and I was edge of my seat.
Yeah.
I mean, half time, Saints were up 18-0. They were a man down, but the way they were playing, you would not think that. They were absolutely unreal. Bigger was controlling it. Courtney Laws was just being an absolute pain, as he should be. But the numbers does make a big difference. And Exeter just went full go at it in the second half. It did work. Sam Skinner, got on the try line. Stuart Hogg finished off a great team try. Honestly, it was just phenomenal to watch. Ollie Devoto just getting up the ranks again. I think he needs to be in that summer tour for England.
Agreed.
And bonus point win for Chiefs, which was needed. 29-26 win. It was probably the biggest test Chiefs have had in like a good couple of weeks. But I think now is the correct time to have that scare and then fix it for the following round, because it's the last round next week and then the semi-final and then the final. So yeah,
I think Exeter. It was Northampton's game to win. Northampton lost it. It was Northampton's loss at the end of the day. You said bigger. Courtney Law, 2 Lions, which obviously they could be pushing for starting places. Who knows? Played extremely well. Very good to see. And then Exeter became Exeter in that second half. They did what they did well, and they scored. Red card will be covered in the referee section later, but it cost the team. That's what cost them. If Northampton went in 18-0 with 15 men at half time, that was Northampton's game. But the way Exeter play and break teams down, and attritionally, and they just take them. You're never going to do it against 14 men. You can't keep it up, especially against Exeter.
yeah, good. Also,
Yeah, one thing, sorry, I was just going to say, you both said it there, both of you alluded to it. I think Bigger was excellent for Northampton. He really was. I think his game management was excellent. And after 38 minutes, Northampton, although they didn't win in the end, they were pushing at the extra line. And then, nothing was coming. And then Bigger, he took the drop goal. I thought he was brilliant for Northampton. Northampton, credit to them. They put Exeter up. They put them, they really put it up to them. Like, they were brilliant. But look, as you said, Exeter became Exeter, and they did what they do best.
Like Bigger showed, he is not a starter, but he is a finisher for the Lions. That drop goal could drop. Just briefly on the Lions, if they've got that there and they can take 3 points out of nowhere, wouldn't you want Bigger? 20 minutes to go in a game, just slot free, get 3 points up. Bigger is good at that, and he will manage an end of the game well.
yeah, agreed. Just a little side note on the Saints Exeter game. As a Scottish fan, I was happy. Rory Hutchinson got 2. Sam Skinner was on the scoreboard, and Stuart Hogg. The hair's a bit questionable, like Simeon's, but he's still got over the score. So,
My inspiration.
so yeah, that's the Premiership. Straight into the Pro 14 Rainbow Cup. Connacht versus Ospreys. 26-19 win for Connacht. All scored in the first half. There was not a single score in the second. Unreal.
Yeah, this was a great game. Shane Delahunt, he started the scoring off. His 100th appearance for Connacht. I think Connacht were playing well. Now, there was patches where they kind of died down and they weren't doing too much and they kind of let Ospreys play. Obviously, the Ospreys, they came back after that Delahunt try. But Caelan Blade, he was brilliant. His kicking was superb. Obviously, he kicked the ball for Aki's try, set him up. Carty, he did all right as well. I think he might have seen the clip of Carty when he was covering the kick at the weekend. Gets it out the back door and they clear it from there. But I think Connacht, they seem to be doing pretty all right. And then, Simeon, I'm sure you're going to want to talk about the Hawkins disallowed try for Ospreys.
So where we're at with that, very briefly, where we're at with that try. Firstly, can we talk about the break beforehand? 40 metres ran in. It's a very complicated one. And I was only brought to this to my attention, so it was something which should change in law. Apparently, you can either roll or play. So where I believe it was still a try because he did the one roll which you're allowed to do after a tackle, and he didn't really place the ball on the try line. The ball rolled with him onto the try line. Personally, would give that a try. I can see why in some instances it's not given, but personally I would go with that of a try. But it's a bit of it's a controversial one, and that's why we've got these professional referees that referee how they believe. Law 6.5a, it's down to the referee's interpretation and what they believe. On the Ospreys, very quickly, I thought their mauling very good, and I've written down here Sam Parry starting for Wales. He's played so well for the Ospreys for years. He had a little run out in the autumn. Go on, give him a go against Canada. Give him a go against Argentina. Very good in the maul. Could be that Ken Owens replacement or that person to go on. And with Bundyaki, I thought he's showing why he's a Lion at the moment. He had a fantastic game.
Yeah, totally agree with you. Especially, I was just about to say the Sam Parry thing. Like, he is unreal. I think like this Rainbow Cup, it's 4 appearances, 3 tries. You want that in any player, let's be honest.
He's been doing it for years, and he's been under the radar. He has been doing it for utterly years.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't good enough, though, was it? At the end of the day.
No.
But Glasgow versus Leinster, I did say it was going to be a tight game. 15-12. Absolutely unreal. Ross Thompson, I can't believe it. Like, he's still holding out Adam Hastings from that 10 jersey. Adam Hastings was on the pitch, he was at fullback. And I was happy with the score. It was a lot tighter. I was happy to see Glasgow score. Yes, I'm an Edinburgh fan, but I do like seeing Glasgow do well. Especially considering who scored the first try. It was Matt Fagerson. I actually played rugby briefly with Matt at youth level, so that's always quite fun to see him score. And then Kyle Stein finished off a greatly worked try. Absolutely filth from Adam Hastings, just out the back. You'll have to see it. Kyle Stein just runs it in. Yeah, can't complain.
Yeah, it was class. Yeah. I think on that, Glasgow's defence, especially their cover defence and their scramble defence, seemed to be pretty alright for the most part. And Glasgow, I think in the second half, it seemed like they kind of won the physical battle against Leinster, and Leinster were kind of, they weren't up for it in terms of the contact. And then you just said it there, the beautiful offload from Adam Hastings. That really was beautiful. Mwah. And then to set up Kyle Stein. I love that, yeah, I love that. No, fair play to Glasgow. That was a class win for them.
The reason why Leinster lost, their discipline was appalling. Lots of penalties, yellow cards. There were a lot of yellows in that game as a whole. So we had like a neck roll, some shirt pulling. It was Leinster's game to lose there, and they just gave away too many penalties, and that's why. I mean, Glasgow, you can't give away that try was amazing, but from how games are played these days, the team with more penalties against them tend to lose. And it showed there with Leinster. Not good discipline. Neck rolls, why are you doing it? Stupid by players. That's what I think neck rolls are. It annoys me. Why?
Yeah, no, definitely. And now, because of that win, Glasgow's now top of the Rainbow Cup. Obviously, they've played more games than Benetton. But even still, like, what a comeback. They lost the first game. They beat Edinburgh. And now they beat Leinster. Great to see. Speaking of Edinburgh, it was their last game at BT Murrayfield before they moved to the new stadium, and 31-34 to Ulster. It's heartbreaking, but it was such a great game. Just even as an Edinburgh fan, just to sit back, watch them play, possibly the strongest they've played in the Rainbow Cup. Obviously, having the Lions and Duhan van der Merwe and Hamish Watson on the pitch does work. Still questionable if Blair Kinghorn's a good 10, but he finished off on a phenomenal team try. It was absolutely amazing to watch, and it just reminds me of why like all those players involved are in that Scotland mix or even in the Lions mix. And Duhan van der Merwe, for his last game of Edinburgh, does what Duhan does. You'll love to see it. But yeah, we we 26-12 at half time, but the fight in the second half, whatever Richard Cockerill said in that locker room, definitely worked, because the Ulster didn't win until a last minute kick from Ian Madigan. And as I said to Simeon in the week, it's what Ian Madigan does. He's known for it. He has ice running through his veins. He does it all the time, and yet he's still overlooked, in my opinion. I don't understand it.
Agreed. I mean, I very much enjoyed that game. I went to the pub to watch that, sat off my pint of Guinness, and it was brilliant. I thought it was a game of Edinburgh, fantastic 15 minutes at the start and the end. And wow, Edinburgh played some fantastic rugby. I was sat with my mate and we just couldn't believe the tries they were scoring. Same with Ulster. Some fantastic tries. Stuart McCloskey, he needs to be in that Ireland setup over the summer. I think he is. I think he just needs to be in the Ireland setup more. He's criminally underrated. Obviously, Henshaw is pushing him out of that 12 jersey, and you've got Bundyaki as well. But I mean, Ireland, what a great place to be, and there's so many good 12s. But to the end, we had that very controversial decision, which we will cover later. But as someone who's really starting to get into Edinburgh rugby going up the next year, I can't wait to watch more tries like that. I thought, fantastic game to watch. 10 try apiece. Amazing.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and so Duhan van der Merwe got his last try for Edinburgh. Was that emotional, especially you, Murray, as an Edinburgh fan?
He's signed for Edinburgh, and just the fact that he's so quick, he's so tall, it's unreal. Like I keep saying it, a man that size and that tall should not run that quick. He is quicker than Stuart Hogg. Obviously, maybe not like chasing the ball or anything, but like flat out 100-meter sprint, I think it's 0.05 seconds quicker than Hogg, and he's 106 kilos. Like that's lightning coming out.
That is power. That's
raw power. That's raw underutilized South African. But yeah, so I've seen he put out a nice little tweet like his first try, his last try, and he's always going to be like the hashtag for Edinburgh is always Edinburgh, and I think he lives up for that. He's said that he's made that quite clear. So you'll have to see stuff like that. Obviously, it's not like football. Like players do return, and yeah, but we've still got one more game. We've got Cardiff against Zebra, 37-12 for Cardiff. I don't even think that's a big win. Cardiff have been doing really well, but Zebra are just, compared to their Italian counterparts, they've just done nothing in this tournament, and discipline just keeps being the issue. Like in that second half, 2 yellow cards and a red card for Zebra. It's just not good enough. Even regardless of what level it is, that is shocking discipline.
It was horrendous. I cannot find the red card to save my life. I have no clue what happened. It wasn't in the highlight reels or nothing. Cannot find it to save my life. But I'm going with the fact that no one's complained over it, so it was most likely a red. Obviously, I saw some of the yellows, like the penalty try. Briefly to cover what that was. In Rugby League, Rugby Sevens, you are allowed to slap the ball away backwards over the try line to save a try. In Union, you're not allowed to. It's where the law variations come in from Union and Sevens. So deliberately stopped it easy, and he was going to score. Penalty try, yellow card, correct decision. Blues coming up with some fantastic scores, using their wings really well, having an extremely good maul. Welsh regional rugby having really good mauls at the moment, I've noticed as a theme. So maybe, I don't know where that's come from, but as a regional thing, we like to take positives out of it. But it was really good. Sad not to see Matthew Morgan in the Wales squad. I thought he had a very good game. I think he's very underrated and had a good game. But yeah, it was unlucky. Zebra scoring 2 very good tries though. I mean, take positives from what you can. Carlo Canna doing well, getting a good try on the board for I can't remember what position, everything is centre. But Zebra scoring 2 good tries, but the rest of it being horrendous.
Yeah, definitely. So we're now into round round 6 now for the Rainbow Cup.
Yeah, I think on that one there, I think Zebra, they were a bit poor defensively, and they have been very poor defensively. I think it's nearly been a theme since they've entered the league. They've been poor. You said it there, Simeon. Matthew Morgan was very good. He's very underrated. He's a bit of a journeyman going from the Ospreys, and wasn't he playing for Bedford Blues for a while? And then I think, was he? Yeah, he was good, and I think Dan Fish, I think he still kind of got it a bit. He scored as well.
When Saris came down to Cardiff, and I was lucky enough to go and watch that game, Saracens versus Cardiff, which was great to watch them with Saracens. I mean, no means a Saracens or England fan, but they are, at the time, they were such good players. It was great to watch. And I remember Dan Fish playing fullback that day, and I think he scored a great try, and he was always a player. I didn't want to see against. Like, when I used to support the Ospreys, never wanted to see Dan Fish playing because I knew he's consistent. He's one of those Welsh fullbacks like Dan Evans. Clearly you think for Dans and fullbacks. You don't do well. But no, it was good play. I think, yes, a lot of depth in Wales.
Still one for the Trevisos to wear.
Yeah, I want you.
We'd love to see it. And the final is going to be in Treviso as well. Like, how fitting would that be? They're playing against the South African side. They've really been class, haven't they, Benetton? Like, you know, like they've especially in the, you know, they were unfortunate in the Challenge Cup, not to make the final or whatever. But you know, it's great to see them doing well. I think Italian sides deserve to do well. Obviously, Kieran Crowley, obviously, he's going to be the Italian head coach now, but they've been playing pretty well, and it's good to see. It's only good for the league. It's only good for Italian rugby as well.
I want Italy, like, if they've got all their players healthy, I want to see them go for it. Like, they have played some really good rugby, but just imagine that Six Nations squad with like Jake Pelledri back, and then you've got Montana Ioane and Paolo Garbisi and Stephen Varney. Like, they two are the most underrated halfback pair in world rugby. I've said that. I think I said that in a video last week. It was like, who's the best 9 and 10 combination in Six Nations? And I was like, I could be really boring and say Anton Dupont and Mathieu Jalabert or Roman and Tomac, but I'd be lying. Like, regardless of the results, Stephen Varney and Paul Garbisi did their jobs. It's just everything else kind of went to shit around it.
Imagine in a French team or a Welsh team. They'd be great. I mean, Stephen Varney, yes, could have played for Wales. So we'll take that one.
Yeah, probably Italy's pack and probably a bit of the defence has kind of lets them down. But as you said, like Varney and Garbisi, they're going to be the lifeline for Italy for a long time to come.
A big fan of the MLR. Sorry, I will pronounce that properly at some point. But how's that going? Is there any? Is it coming to the end of that tournament or?
Yeah, it's coming to the end of the regular fixtures. The regular season until it is ending into the start of July, I believe, and then it'll be into the playoffs, which I think there's it's kind of like around 16, I think, and then quarterfinals. I think it's something like that anyway. But yeah, it's been going pretty all right. I'm a big fan of Rooney. Obviously, Rooney, Rugby United New York beat the Giltinis, which are the LA-based team. Obviously, funny name. A lot of people don't like them, but they're based in LA, and they only joined the league this year. They won 8 games in a row at the start of the season, and then my beloved Rooney were their first team to hand them their first loss, which I was delighted with. But yeah, so the league is going well. I tune in mostly to just the Rooney games, and I tune into social media as well. But there was a very funny clip during the week. I think you boys might have seen it. I posted on my yeah, it is. Yeah, so there was a yeah. So I'll just describe it to the listeners. So there was the Gilgronis, which is the Austin team. They scored a try in the 10-headed conversion, and the Utah Warriors, their team was underneath the sticks, getting ready to obviously just defend his conversion or whatever. And then as he's getting ready to kick it, the mascot, which is a panther wearing the jersey, is on a motorbike. And then he drives across the pitch right in front of him. And it wasn't like he drove behind the end line or anything. It was like he drove on the pitch, like right in front of him as he's about to take the kick. I thought it was so funny. I thought, you know what, that's what American rugby has to keep doing it for people like me to be entertained. That was hilarious.
Charges the ball down essentially on a motorbike.
In America, probably. if that happens here, you can see, this is what I love about American rugby. Can be funny and it can be good. If that happens in a Premiership game, or let's just say Pat Lam might be back on the pitch causing some nuisance.
Yeah, I'd say if he missed, obviously, I presume the ref would give him a retake. I'd imagine, but
you'll get some humour in as a referee.
Yeah.
A good referee loves something funny to happen in the game that they can build on and sometimes build good relationships with players on the pitch to make a good player-ref communication throughout a game. the fact he let that conversion still take was really good, but he didn't even have a go. The fact he let it take and it got through, there was no issue. I thought that was actually quite good.
I think the Americans, in fairness to them, I think their entertainment value and the emphasis they put on the entertainment for the fans and the spectators, I think, is something that, like they do in the basketball and the American football, and even the baseball, it's more of an event more than the actual sport itself, which would be great to see, and it'd be great to see them really implement that in rugby and help it grow over there, because it's the only way it's really probably going to connect with the American audience. But it's that was hilarious.
That is literally the core of it. It's called Americanization. Because obviously that kind of happens now over here, where you've got like the fires at the start of this, like in the Principality, you've got all the fire going everywhere. That's kind of Americanization type thing. But it works if you ever want a low key in the UK. I think it works, an Ireland or whatever. It works well.
Yeah, that's fair. Just one more thing on the MLR, Sean. Is your beloved New York going to win the MLR or even the conference?
I'm going to say yes. We're doing all right. The Eastern Conference is very tight, and there's about 4 or 5 teams who are in the hunt, and even probably the bottom team on the Eastern Conference. So I'm going to say, I'm hoping that this will be our year. In our first year, we got to the semi-finals, so maybe this is our year.
I've got Premiership, I've got Pro 14, I've got the Super Rugby, so hard to give up with everything. So
I'll convert you to the New York fans yet, boys. All right, don't you worry.
How did that go this weekend?
It's been good. Australia actually got their second win in the whole thing. Yeah, Brumbies got a 12 points to 10 win over who was it now?
Hurricanes. Yeah.
Hurricanes. Yeah. Can't complain. It was a tight game. Crusaders got matched this week by Western Force of all teams. Granted, Crusaders didn't go like full go like Richie Mwanga and all that were not playing. But Will Jordan was playing and got 2 tries. But credit where credit is due. Olawafala, that's it, for Western Force, scored possibly the most outrageous cross kick try I've ever seen. It was ridiculous. The amount of space that the Western Force 10, who's been called up into the Argentinian squad, seen is absolutely unreal. Will Jordan was nowhere to be seen. You know how sometimes you can catch it and then just brush past the defender? Yeah, there was no defender. It was absolutely phenomenal. I had to just keep rewinding it. Not just because I knew what happened, but I seen it and I need to just keep watching it. It was beautiful every time I watch it, and it is my try of the week for the Super Rugby. Regardless of the result, a good try is a good try, and it was beautiful. And sticking with Super Rugby, Blues are still winning 30. What's the score? Sorry, 31-24 against the Reds. Again, Reds are not holding up their end of the bargain. They are the champions of Australia. They did get a narrow win over the Chiefs last week, but that was because of the Damien McKenzie red card, if anything. But yeah, I don't know what's going on. Chiefs going strong, 36-26. Anton Leonard-Brown got 2 great tries as well. Bryn Gatland actually got a good run out for the Chiefs, Warren Gatland's son. It was good to see. And Highlanders just absolutely crushed the Waratahs, 59-23. So there you go, there's the roundup. Blues are still top, and I think there's a couple more rounds to go before they start, kind of like the MLR, before they start breaking it down. But yeah, I don't support any team in Super Rugby. I collect the New Zealand franchises teams because they've got lovely kits, but for Super Rugby, I don't have that emotional investment to support a certain club. I just have the love as a rugby fan, and I could just sit back and just watch absolutely world-class rugby. So that's it. We've got some good news though, because it's coming up to Lions series, coming up to the Super Test. We've got a few squads that have been announced. So South Africa have named theirs. It will get cut. I think it's a 46-man squad to begin with. It will get cut gradually. Scotland have named their squad, and Wales have named theirs. But we'll start with South Africa. What did you boys think of the squad announcement?
I think very strong. I think what just struck me was just for me. Obviously, we've all seen whether live or clips of the 2009 series, having Mornay staying and France staying, both. They're still old. They're still going pretty well in the South African side. That's pretty juicy. That's going to be another whole storyline for this series. Like, it's going to be great.
I mean, it'd be great. It'd be just a great little promotional thing they could do, isn't it? But it's just something fun. Look, 12 years on, very successful players.
Yeah.
Just don't have Sharp Burger ripping at anyone's eyes again, because that left a dampener. But yeah, I've looked at the squad. It's very, very strong. Like, obviously, like, building up to it, you could be like, oh, Lions will win because they've had like more game time and all that. Mm-hmm. But as soon as South Africa dropped that squad, I'm like, that's a big team. Like, that's a reason why they are the world champions. Like, obviously, like, they have got a little bit of like game rust, but like, it's not their fault. It's just because like the pandemic has affected everyone. But yeah, I did a video on it and did a lot of talking points. Mornay staying and Francois staying was a big talking point for me. See a Khaleesi being back as captain, you love to see it. Half of the Dupree brothers from Sale Sharks are in the squad. There's 4 of them, but 2 didn't get in. But that just tells you like the depth that South Africa has. Like, I'm so happy for Jasper Vyse as well of Leicester Tigers. He's been unstoppable this year, especially in the Challenge Cup run. It just makes sense from. I'm not saying he's going to start. He might get a chance now because one from Allen is hurt, and Razi Erasmus did say they're expecting the worst. So you never know. But I don't know. I think Dwan's one of those players that you'll bounce back quicker, and then get bounced by Hamish Watson in the series. It won't happen. I'd be petrified to see that. Like, Hamish Watson can move anything that's been in his path so far, and he's moved.
He's moved God. He's moved the Welsh God. He's moved Alwyn Jones. He can move anything.
That's your dream.
No, just
Murray, that's your dream from the Lions tour. Just go to see
I think that would be absolutely brilliant.
There's also a lot, like how you said, like the story of like Mornay and Francois Steyn and Alwyn Jones, who were on the last tour against each other in 2009. I think there's another little story there though, like Duhan van der Merwe. He was part of the under-20s World Cup squad that was with Andre Pollard and Jesse Creel and all that. So like they know each other so well, and yet obviously it's not through like Duhan's fault, or I'm not even saying it's South Africa's fault. There was apparently a trial for Duhan to go onto the 7th circuit originally, and then take it like do that progression, and it just wasn't to be. So I don't know. I just feel like the story of like wasn't good enough for South Africa against South Africa. I love seeing stuff like that.
Yeah. Everyone loves a good underdog story.
Definitely. Plus, like I said earlier, 6'3", 160
Everyone loves a good underdog story.
0.05 seconds quicker than Stuart Hogg. No thanks. Good luck stopping him. Absolute unit. But going on to the Wales squad, because that came out today. This is recording on Monday, just for our listeners if I think we're like out of date. Yeah, it's recording on Monday. So yeah, the Wales squad got announced today. Simeon, what's your initial thoughts?
Depth. We've got 10 fantastic players on the Lions. What a team. And I called it Jonathan Davis for captain. I called that, and I'm happy with that. I think looking through, you've got 5 new caps, which I think is the correct. You've got so much depth of capped players already to give them more game time. Get them in, get more game time. You've got my particular one I'm glad to see in there is I've just got it written down here. Ben Thomas of Cardiff Blues played very well against Zebra. He's been upcoming. I think possible start against Canada. Would quite like to see him with Jonathan Davis against Canada. Obviously, having that experience, particularly in the back. The forwards are kind of what you'd expect, and I'm looking forward to seeing Will Rowlands and Corey Hill do a second row partnership. I really rate them, but I'm really glad to see Johan Lloyd in there. Owen Lane, who I think is a very underrated player. I'm glad to see Nick Tompkins and stuff. And odd one, and I don't think people have realised, Rodri Williams, who hasn't been in the Welsh squad for years, but I think they brought him in there. As he's been on form for Dragons, he's been captain of Dragons, and I think he's there as an experienced come off. He's still got quite I know Tom's been around for a few years now, but he's still inexperienced, and Kieran Hardy obviously is. But I think he's been brought in there to shake things up, and I think Pivac's gone, you've got it, and I think that's what Pivac does well. He takes players on form, and he's gone, go on, you've had a go, give it a chance. Obviously, glad to see Sheedy, but I think that is a good squad, and I'm very excited. When they said Argentina, and I know they've been playing well, I was a bit like, oh gosh, we might not do very well. Looking at that squad, bring on Argentina.
That's the spirit. I can't agree more. I'm also like you said, you were happy for like Roger Williams and all that. I'm really happy for Jonah Holmes.
Agreed.
Just because it's a little selfish reason. He was like my first. I think he was my first Pro 14 try of the week when I started doing that little series. So seeing him like maybe it was me. There you go. I'm just.
Wait, Dragons won it. The Dragons scored a try? What? Now, to be fair, Dragons have really improved over. Really underrated, I think, at the moment, Dragons do.
Yeah, one thing about the Welsh squad. Sorry, Murray, I could have crossed you there, but what I was just going to say, one thing about the Welsh squad was that I noticed was that there's no extra man Tom O'Flaherty. He's not in it. He's Welsh, isn't he? He could be picked for England, but he's a good player though, isn't he?
I wonder if those two players England might have got to first. So when the England comes out, I wouldn't be surprised to see those two potentially in the England squad.
Okay.
Just talking about Tom O'Flaherty, I'm amazed how he's not been picked up yet. Unless, like what Simeon just said, he might have had like private one-on-one discussion with Eddie Jones. You don't know, but Harry Randall, like he was in the England squad initially, but he got hurt, so he's not been capped. Could still play for Wales. I don't think it's going to happen.
I think he's in England.
I think the fact that Wayne Pivac has not called him up tells you Harry Randall has made his decision. It was kind of like Lewis Rees-Zammit. Like there was a little joke, like, "Oh, you playing for England or Wales?" And he was, "No, I'm Welsh, so I'm Wales all the way." So it was like something like that. But like, I don't think Harry Randall's ever went like fully public with it. Like, it is no one's business at the end of the day. Who he picks is up to him, and but I think Harry Randall was in a tough place because like there's good nines in Wales, there's good nines in England. I think regardless of who he picks, I don't think he's going to get as much caps as he's hoping.
No, I agree completely.
But you never know. I'm happy to see Josh Navidi in the squad. He was always going to be in that squad, but Josh Navidi is a personal favourite of mine. He just does everything right, and it never feels like it's enough. And I know that sounds I don't know if that sounds stupid or not, but like half the time he's on the bench, and I'm like, why is he on the bench? Have him starting. I get you can have him as an impact sub, but like again, look at the Six Nations. He was formidable, possibly some of the best rugby in his career. Was he a lion? Was he a lion? No, that's big talking point.
He was quite possibly one behind Hamish Watson of the best flanker of the Six Nations. Potentially, I thought he was very unlucky. I would obviously, if Jonathan Davies maybe doesn't start against Canada, give Navidi captaincy or something. I think he deserves to be starting in all those games. I think he can play 6, 8, or 7. Chuck him anywhere. He'll be happy to just get game time.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. I 100% agree with that. There is a big name that got back in just as a recall due to form. I don't personally like him because he is quite a dirty player, but a lot of the Welsh fans like him. It's Ross Moriarty.
Yes, I know one of my good friends, Lex, will be listening to this, and he loves Ross Moriarty more than anything, probably because he plays like him. Shout out to you, Lexus Dennett. But yeah, Ross Moriarty, when on form, dirty player. As a referee, would not want to ref him, but when he gets it right, he's a bit like Itoje and Farrell. Gets it right, fantastic player. Gets it wrong, honestly, they're a nuisance and a liability. He's one of those.
But we've got one more squad announcement. It was Scotland and big changes. Obviously, Gregor Townsend's not there because he's on Lions duty, so Mike Blair's been called up as interim head coach. We have 17 new caps in the squad. I'd just like to go on record. Sadly, like there isn't much proof of it, but I'm hoping these two will back me up on it. I dropped 10 or 11 players last week in the recording, of who should be in the Scotland squad or who should be captain, and they're all in the squad. So
Yeah. Well done. Sorry, well done.
Thank you. But no, I'm just
Hats off to you, Murray.
like Jamie Ritchie as captain. It's the right choice. I thought he was going to be on the Lions tour. Obviously, like Josh Navidi, he wasn't meant to be. He might be on the injury cover. You never know. But I just think it makes more sense. I'm so happy to see Ross Thompson in that squad. Rufus McLean, Cole Forbes. Cole Forbes came to Glasgow in February. He's part of the New Zealand under-20s, and because of his family, he's eligible for Scotland, and he's straight in. That just tells you everything about this player. Like Cole Forbes is absolutely unreal. Jamie Dobie, he's 19, and he's starting regularly for Glasgow at scrum half. Obviously, George Horn's back from injury. He's in the squad. I'm happy for that. There's so many other names as well. Matt Fagerson, again, like former teammate. I think I played like 2 games with him.
He played one game. He's a former teammate.
There you go. Still counts. Sam Skinner getting back in that squad after doing great form with Exeter Chiefs. Kyle Stain, and a big talking point is Sione Tuipulotu, big Samoan of obviously Scottish heritage, but he got a lot of stick because it's like using the whole, well, it wasn't good enough for this country, so he's coming over here. I totally disagree with it. My argument was, like, England has Manu Tuilagi, Wales have Willis Halaholo, Ireland have Bundiaki. None of them are like English or Welsh or Irish. It works. So why can't Scotland have it?
Balatel as well.
Right. See, you've got 2. Jeez.
Exactly. Yeah.
No,
I know what you mean. I think it's good. Player, I don't know why I like him, and I always have, and I know he's not always. He's either amazing or awful. James Lang was happy to see him in the squad. I think good because he's versatile. He can play 10, 12, and he's good to have in there. Would like to see him get a run out. Him and a few other. He's quick. He's an intelligent player. He just needs to get some consistency and some good form in. Yeah.
Also, another one I'm happy to see, again, just based on club form, is Charlie Shield of Edinburgh. He came through the ranks rapidly quick. He signed from Melrose, which is obviously a big historic club in Scotland. Got into the Edinburgh. I think he signed an academy deal, but just took on regular starter. Looks very comfy in an Edinburgh jersey, and it makes sense. Like I always say, do well at your club. You merit an international call-up. You do well there, you get a Lions or a World Cup squad in the given year. So yeah, it makes sense. I don't know if 17's a bit much to change, but I mean we've still a Welsh boy as well. We've got Javen Sebastian, who is a big lad. Absolutely, he's a unit.
Good player for Scarlets. I think you've nicked a good one from us there. I can tell you that much.
And I'm like Josh Bayliss of Bath. He was in the Six Nations squad. He got withdrawn because of injury. But yeah, honestly, overall, I'm beyond happy. It's still strong. The big issue was Rory Darge as well. I mentioned him previously. He's been doing really well for Glasgow. He reminds me of a young Ryan Wilson. Yes, I cannot complain at all. I'm very happy with the squad. I'm looking forward to it. A lot of people have criticised the actual fixtures being at Romania and Georgia. It's perfect for the younger lads.
Agreed.
It's nothing against Ross Thompson or Rory Darge or Jamie Dobie or that. They're not going to play against South Africa right now. They will, but with a pack like Georgia, it's similar to South Africa in a way, with big, strong ball carriers. So
it's a good equivalent.
So it's a practice. There you go.
Exactly. I think I think Scotland have got their fixtures spot on. They're doing what Wales did back when it was the last Lions tour and took a super young squad to 2 nations. We did Samoa and Tonga. Obviously, a good equivalence in some ways to the All Blacks and other teams and just Pacific Islanders. And look where Wales' depth's gone now. Next Lions tour, Scotland will be where Wales are now. That's what I truly believe. But yeah, I think it's good.
I think I was just going to say with the Scotland playing Romania and Georgia, I think it's brilliant for Romania and Georgia as well to get those games. And I think Georgia are playing against Springboks as well, aren't they? Or is that cancelled? I'm pretty sure they are. Yeah, that's brilliant, because the only way for these so-called Tier 2 weaker teams to get better is by playing against the best more frequently. And yes, Georgia unfortunately may get pummeled a bit by the Springboks, but it's only good for them to be playing the high quality matches, getting experience outside of the World Cups or whatever, when they typically only, apart from maybe once or twice a year, get to play a tier 1 team. So it's only brilliant for the tier 2 teams.
Yeah, and I've never said like tier 2 teams or tier 2 countries are rubbish.
Yeah.
You don't get to watch them. You can't decide based on, oh well, we absolutely smashed them 3 years ago in a World Cup. Very good. That means
They
nothing.
changed.
It means nothing. How many people writ off Japan
Exactly.
a few years ago? Yeah,
So
exactly.
you boys, how do you both feel about Japan after the World Cup?
Stop. That was, Yeah. Sorry. Bye, lads. See.
Boys straight from high school or college level, straight in, and obviously you've got that international pedigree like Bowden Barrett and Brodie Retallick and all that. They go on sabbatical there. They're only going to learn so much from them, and it's just going to up their game constantly.
Exactly.
I can't remember what team it was. I'm not even going to pronounce the team just because I will call the wrong team. But there was a team in Japan that had TJ Perenara, Makazole Mapimpi, and others, and Owen Williams from Wales. Like, those Japanese boys are going to learn so much from them all alone, and then just think of like overall in the league, it's unreal. I think Japan's one. I'm going to call them a sleeper team.
Yeah.
Like, just look at some of the players they've got, and like obviously me and you all know like first hand, Sean, like what they can do. And again, like when the Lions announced our warm up or our first game is against Japan, I'm going, oh, that's a rubbish game. It's the same with the Romania Georgia games with Scotland. It's not rubbish. You've just not seen enough of them to be like,
Exactly.
that's a great, sticking with Japan, Scotland announced their final autumn test is Japan, but they made this big hype video from the World Cup of us getting beat, and it's like a redemption story. That tells you how good Japan is. The fact that Scotland or tier 1 nations are looking for revenge. So I love watching Japan. I think I'd love to watch Japan more if I got the chance.
I think one thing that Japan have done really well, they've got it really, the union has got it right at the top level. Like, they develop a lot of their grassroots game, and obviously the top league has a lot of money in it now, which it didn't 10 years ago, and it was a poor enough league 10 years ago. It's grown from the bottom up, and obviously they get a lot of players from the university level. It's very competitive there, but they've done it about the right way, and they're like those wins against South Africa, Ireland and Scotland. I don't think they're going to be just once-off games. Like, obviously we thought, oh yeah, they beat South Africa, they mightn't beat anyone else, but then obviously last World Cup they showed that up. Japan will be one of those teams that will be fighting for years to come, and they've already made a quarter-final of a World Cup, unfortunately losing to South Africa last time, but never know. They could make a semi-final next time, you wouldn't know. So fair play to them. Alright, so just quickly from the top 14, from some important news that some people might have missed, especially now that the top 14 is back on screens in UK and Ireland with Premier Sport, which I love the fact. I don't get to see too many games, but what I do, some of the games are pretty good. So Agen, who are at the bottom of the table, looks like they're going to get relegated for next year, and Perpignan had actually been promoted, so they're back in the top 14 for next year. Perpignan promoted, and Biarritz, they're the second best team in because they lost to Perpignan in the Pro D2, and Bayonne are the second worst team in the, if you get me, from the top 14. So those two are playing in a playoff this weekend to decide who will go up, whether Bayonne will stay or Biarritz will go up. So that's a big game. And that's on this weekend. So yeah, that's just a quick news roundup, some important news for next season, especially I believe the top 14 will be on UK and Ireland screens for next year, I think, anyway. So if you're watching that, that's you could be seeing Bayonne or Biarritz joining Perpignan next year.
I'm not going to say the name or that, but somebody put a start that a certain player in the top 14 has scored 314 points himself, and Agen as a team have scored 340. Like, it's unreal. It just tells you how poorly they've been. But we've got a lot of talking points from the referee perspective. One game sticks in my mind, but we'll give it away to the TikTok ref himself, Simeon.
Brilliant. So I'll go off what clips come up first. But we'll finish with Bristol. We'll keep you guys
I'm just bringing up the cards now for Simeon,
waiting and hungry for Bristol. So let's go. What's happened on the weekend? Some talking points. First, we have Wasp versus London Irish. So what we've got here is direct head contact from the shoulder to the head of the Irish player to the Wasps player. So obviously we're then saying red card, is there mitigating factors? What you can't see in the pictures, which you can see more in the clip, is although there is a bit of a bend of the knees of the Irish player, he should always be getting lower. So in my opinion, it is from that already, that is definitely a yellow card if you take away the head contacts. What you can't see in the clips is the Wasps player ducks his head into the shoulder of, he ducks into it, the shoulder of the Irish player, which to me is enough of a mitigating factor to give yellow card. The officials gave it yellow. I can see why you give it red. It's one of those ones. That's where it comes down to referee perception. In my opinion, there was enough mitigation for a yellow card there.
That's fair. I would have said a red, but you've explained it, so I'll change my mind to say yellow.
Right. Northampton versus Exeter. I think, as much as I don't like seeing red cards, I know you might all think referees just want red cards. We don't. We want it out the game more than players. But I do occasionally love to see what is a red card. And if you want to explain a red card to someone, you look at this. He just goes in, his shoulder whacks the Northampton player's Northampton number 4, shoulder goes straight into the head of Luke Cowan-Dickey of Exeter. No attempt to go low. The referee said in the when it was going on that he's had open space. There was so much time for him to go low, and he's decided to go high. And I thought actually how the referee and TMO dealt with that was beautifully. If you guys can watch the clip, watch it. It's worth listening how to do a really good referee TMO connection there of getting a decision right. But clear cut red card for me.
Yeah, I agree totally. I love the fact that you explain like why it's a red, why it's a yellow as well. So I don't know.
Right now, Edinburgh v Ulster. Watching this live, it was very interesting and had some interesting arguments in the pub. And I think I'll say it now, so if people start going, you're biased, yeah, I do support Edinburgh, but we're going to go in with what, and I'm going to talk a lot about what Ben Whitehouse, another Welsh Rugby Union referee, spoke about when explaining it. So what's happened is the Edinburgh player there, if you look at that, he is always going to make a tackle, and Whitehouse said it, around the waist thigh area. He's never looked for an illegal tackle. He's never looked to go high. He's looked to always make a perfectly good tackle. Now, what's happened is the other Edinburgh player has tackled the Ulster player down, and it's a misjudgment in timing. It's as he said, it's a rugby accident almost. He's gone to make a perfectly legal tackle. It's unlucky that the Ulster player was brought down and they've made direct shoulder-to-head contact. They let it stand to try and said that was a play on because of a rugby accident. We saw this a couple of weeks ago in a Gloucester game. In the Gloucester game was given a red, and I will never understand why. It was an accidental head clash, but that's not this situation. It's extremely unlucky. The images look bad there, but the Edinburgh player couldn't have done anything more. They did everything right. It was an unlucky incident. I personally do say, and it might be a bit of your bias, that it is play on, but it's a very hard one to call. Sean, as the independent one of Edinburgh here, what do you think of this?
I think personally, if you can still see the image on screen, I think a key part is that the Edinburgh player. Oh, sorry. I think that's all right. I think the Edinburgh player, I think he's bent at the hips, which I think is the key thing. He is trying to make a normal tackle. It is, as you said, it's unfortunate. The other Edinburgh player who is on the floor tackling at the legs is just bringing him down. It's just a poor timing issue. He doesn't see that, this player here, and he's just going in trying to make a big hit. He's bent at the hips. Now, look, there was contact there. Possibly is a yellow card, but nothing more. Maybe a penalty, but I think he was going for a legal tackle. Definitely no malice anyway.
What about Bristol? Now, it's a very complicated one, and as much as people tag me in it, it's not so much a referee issue. It's a management issue. The scrum, which we'll get to, is a referee issue. Now, I've heard very mixed things about the refereeing. I've heard he actually refed really well. Ian Tempest, personally quite rate him as a referee. He was put in extremely difficult position. And what I'm going to go through is kind of what I know and how I do it. So what you've got is, and we go back to Bristol's discipline of yellows. Bristol crumble under yellows. I don't know what it is, but we've seen the last couple of weeks, Bristol do not do well under yellows or losing a man. So we've got a weird situation here where Pat Lam should have always stayed in the coach's box. They've come on and said that, I'm not going to try and pronounce his name, but the Bristol prop was done as tactical. And at that point, if that's what the team manager's written down, that's what should have played out, and he technically should have gone back on as a tactical, but then all the coaches start to get involved. Pat Lam then comes down and goes, no, this is an injury, and you hear him say, if he gets injured, it's on you, being quite threatening to the referee, which is already not looking good. Now, the head coach, or director of rugby as they're called, has the overall authority decision. So the fact he's come down, he knows what he's doing, he has the overall decision to say, that player's injured. So he's now said, that player's injured. So then Ian Tempest explains, that's okay, you're going to have to take another player off because you can't make up that number, and you have to still have 8 in the scrum, which means you've only got 5 in the back, so there's a lot of space on the back. All of a sudden, you've got them changing what they want and saying, oh no, he can come on, and then the prop decides himself he's coming on. If that's because he's heard that they'd have to go down to 13, I don't know. I'm not going to accuse anyone of lying, I'm not going to, because I don't know, and I heard a Pat Lam interview afterwards, it's extremely difficult to tell. Personally, and Ian Tempest couldn't have done anything more, he was just going what he was told. And the fact he changed their mind was a bit sneaky, should I say. I'm not saying it was lying, but it was a bit sneaky that they kept 1 minute was tactical, 1 minute was injury, and then 1 minute the player's bringing himself back on. The player can't decide that, the coach can. So the fact he's all of a sudden gone, the fact Pat Lam's all of a sudden gone, he's not going on, and then he decides he's gone. Pat Lam should have made him stay off. So it was really weird, and I don't understand. Well, I do understand that it makes no sense. It was a mess. Leicester Tigers understandably upset. I get where Borthwick was coming from. He was changing his decision. Obviously, accusing someone of lying is hard and whatever, but he was changing his mind. And that's what I found dodgy about the whole situation. But we go on and we get to a scrum. Now, it could have also been, if it should have gone what it should have been, which is the prop shouldn't have come back on to be uncontested. We never get to this scrum issue. We get in for scrum. And from what I've watched of the clip, I could see an early push from Bristol. A slightly early push, and you can see a shift in momentum gone forward by Bristol, and then it kind of closes inwards. At that point, as a referee, you're looking at free kick, and anyone who listens to my TikTok, I said it wrong earlier, I did mean what I'm about to say. It should have been a free kick to Leicester against Bristol, so Leicester should have had a free kick, or it should have been a reset scrum because it folded in like that. The ball's kind of come out the flanker's feet, out the tunnel almost. I think it was Harry Randall. The Bristol's come off, picked it up, kicked it out. Personally, I think that should have been a reset scrum in a situation that, at that point of the game, it's so messy. Obviously, that is partly with Ian Tempest, but I'm not going to... He was just put in a ridiculously hard situation, and it's going to always be hard. As I said earlier in a TikTok, you don't expect a player to play 100% right 100% of the time. Players make mistakes always. You can't expect a referee to do the same. We're human, we make mistakes and we learn from them. When I started refereeing, I made loads of little mistakes, but I've learned to do them right next time and not... and it's the same with life. You do make a mistake, mistake's a mistake, you messed up. But next time, don't do it again. Make sure you get it right. So... that's my view on the Bristol situation. Lads, what do you think?
I think I'm just going to say with the ball coming out of the scrum, I felt that that was a bit harsh for Leicester, because the ball came out. I think it kind of nearly came out the side. But I think, what you said there, I think the referee probably could have got a bit more help from the assistant referee because he was on the far side of the scrum, I think, and it was obviously just in front of the touch judge. He probably could have just said something to the referee, said, look, I might have saw it come out the side or whatever, but probably just a bit harsh for Leicester, and you feel for them, but it was obviously a great game. Decision's done, great game, you can't have too many arguments.
Engaged quite early on, but the whole Pat Lam bumping his gums, and if he gets hurt, it's on you. Don't threaten a ref, and then just to go, all right, it is tactical. I'm like, what are you on about? At that incident, I was totally on Steve Borthwick's side. I was like, because I heard Steve Borthwick, but he's just lied. He just said that he's injured. 100% agree with Steve Borthwick. You could, because obviously there isn't as many fans. Obviously the ref's mic'd up as well, so you could hear everything. And they did say that John Afoa was injured, and then it was still gonna. I think it was still meant to be uncontested, but then they got on, and John Afoa was like, "No, I'm all good, so I can contest." When does the player get that decision as well?
He doesn't. It's the coach's decision, the management team and the coaches. They can go, how do you feel? But if the coach gets overall authority, he is in charge of the players. He's their carer at the end of the day. He looks after them. So, I don't know, it's very sus.
Yeah, one thing I was just going to say, actually, just to run back on the scrum, regardless of, the scrum, being not the best scrum or whatever, or that, just push from John Afoa, to just come off, not get any sort of warm-up, and he just absolutely, even though maybe it might have been slightly illegal, just a savage push. I think as backs, we probably don't appreciate it, and I definitely don't, but, it was a savage push. We got to give all the love to the props out there, all right? That was a savage push from John Afoa.
And there's been bits there's really hard, they're very hard to find and pick out bits. I do want Richard Wigglesworth to be cited, I think, or just had a look at, because I know John Afoa, he just messed up completely. He shouldn't have gone and pushed Wigglesworth, and Wigglesworth shouldn't have reacted like that. That's me not being rude to Leicester or Bristol.
Yeah.
As a referee, just don't do it. But it just looks like there might have been a forearm or something to the head on the floor, and it just looks a bit dodgy. I mean, if the game had been timed up, because they can still check it even though time's up. But if it hadn't been timed up, they would have, you'd hope, looked at that. But it was an unfortunate situation. I think ruined a good game.
Yeah, absolutely. I knew as soon as this incident started. I think I messaged it. Well, you're going to have fun on the show this week.
That's what you messaged me, and I was like, and then everyone, my comment section blew up, going Bristol. I was like, okay, and then I'm still getting them now. But everyone, there was 2 or 3 videos about the Bristol game. Go and watch them.
So just to clarify to our viewers, no more asking Simeon about the Bristol London Irish Leicester Tigers game.
It's Leicester's new information which comes out, but apart from that, please.
Just to absolutely, yeah. Well, lads, just to close out the show, we've got some questions from some of our, I'll say, more die-hard followers, the ones that keep us on our toes. Sean?
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. So a question on my page came from Callum_Quinn01. Callum, obviously, he put a lot of questions on our page. Yeah. So fair play to Callum. So his question was about the Lions. He specifically was talking about tactics, squad picks, and likelihood of winning the tour. I think we're probably going to deal with squad picks probably in a later episode in terms of who we're going to start for the test. But we're going to deal mostly with tactics and likeliness of winning the tour. So who wants to take that first? Murray, do you want to take that?
Anyone goes on to picking Finn Russell or that, it's nothing to do with Warren Ball. As soon as Warren Gatland left Wales, Warren Ball died. It's not a thing anymore. It's a whole different tactic. Obviously, Bundyaki is there for a reason. If you look at previous Gatland squads, whether it's Lions or Wales, he's had that big, bulking inside centre just causing havoc, whether it's Bundyaki or Manitou Olangi or Jamie Roberts on the Wales end, or even Jonathan Davies. Sorry, voice break there. Jonathan Davies there when he got moved to inside. Just there's always been a big bulking centre, and that's why Bundyaki's there. I'm not saying Bundyaki's going to start. I think Hamish Watson is there, merited because of form and his defence. His defence does not get spoken about enough. 60 tackles attempted in Six Nations, 60 made. Unreal.
You can't beat it. what you want.
You can't beat
That's
that.
what you want.
Two-hand Van der
Yeah.
Merwe,
Yeah.
most meters made. Again, he's a big lad. I've discussed that multiple times in this episode. Like, good luck stopping him on the attack. Like, I'd have a nightmare if I ever tackled Duhan van der Merwe and like Tom Curry or Hamish Watson or Tulipi Falatau was there to clear out after him. No thanks. Just keep. No, absolutely not. But I think, and I'll give him credit.
Yeah, don't blame me
if
there.
he'll ever listen to this, fair play. But it was when Squidge Rugby mentioned it. It was the British and Irish Lions this year. It is not the best of the best. It is the best players for the job Warren Gatland wants to do.
Exactly.
So people moaning that this player or that player should be in X, Y,
Yeah.
Z. Probably yes, best of the best. I do argue the best of the best, but if you're doing a job, you want the job done right, and I think right now it is possibly the best overall squad I've seen in a,
Cohesive.
yeah, that's the word. I mean, thank you. Probably the best like cohesive team. Because I've just said, like, so if Bundyaki doesn't start, you're going to need that big ball carrier. Well, that's Duhan van der Merwe. Even Jamie Roberts said that himself.
Exactly.
And-
And Jamie Roberts was that player.
Exactly. So you're going to have like obviously Dan Bigger as a cool, calm, collected 10, and I'm all for that. But I don't think that'll work against South Africa, especially in the dying. Like say it's one apiece. I don't think that's going to work because they already know what's happening. If you have somebody like Finn Russell that's not as cool, calm, and collected as it seems, but he's a maverick. He's more like a Danny Cipriani in a way. He does a lot. I know Cipriani's not playing right now, but you get the same style of player. A lot of people think he's making rash decisions. He's not thinking. A lot of rubbish. Finn Russell is 4, 5, 6 steps ahead of everyone. Just look at the France game. Hogg was sin bin. There was about just over a minute left. Finn went for a drop goal. Granted, never went in. Doesn't matter. It killed the clock. It brought the clock right down. Stuart Hogg came back on. That's just a smart tactic. And this whole it does do it when they've got the advantage, but it doesn't matter because they've got the advantage. He'll go for like a chip and chase or a crossfield kick. And the thing is, and I can't hammer this home enough, and it's with certain players as well. They'll moan about, oh, they do that too much. Probably. If it works though, nobody will complain. Nobody will complain.
Completely agree. I think how I think the Lions will play is like 2019 Wales. The Wales team, which went to number 1 in the world, and the Wales team won the Grand Slam and had that massive win streak. You have Finn Russell, who is like Gareth Anscombe, a running 10 who wants to play good rugby, and you have Dan Bigger still on the bench to win a game, like he did against England, like he did Australia, like he did multiple times. He'd come on and win a game. I think it's going to look. I think and you look at this. There's a lot of similarity in the players who are out there, like Josh Adams and lots of players like that. It will be very similar to that, in my opinion, because it worked, and it wasn't just Warren ball. It was that Wales team, especially in that World Cup, scored tries. I mean, Josh Adams was the top try scorer of the World Cup. They're looking to score tries, but they're looking to keep that consistent defence and a good, smart attack and build play. And I think that's I think there's going to be a lot of similarities before it. And I think that's why they pick those some maverick and then some hard-hitting, good carrying, solid players.
Well said. Well said.
Yep. I think the Lions. I think one reason why I said this last week as well, boys. I think that the one reason why Conor Murray was picked, I think, was because of his box kicking, because he's potentially one of the best box kicker in the world. And not that I think the Lions are going to box kick all day or anything, but it's just an asset that I think Gatland could like to use. I probably wouldn't have brought him on form, but he is a brilliant box kicker. You know, he's pretty good. So. And I think obviously the Lions are going to have to try and win some sort of physical battle against the Springboks, because if you don't win any sort of collisions, you're not going to get quick ball. You need to get quick ball off winning collisions. So, and as you said, I think I would like to see Finn Russell start, But I think Warren Gatland, he knows Bigger very, very well. He has a lot of faith in Bigger. I think Bigger could end up starting potentially at 10 and then maybe Finn on the bench. I'd love to see Finn Russell start, but I could see Warren Gatland, leaning more towards Bigger just because he's probably a bit of a safer 10. Obviously, a lot of people are saying Finn Russell is a bit of a maverick. Some people in a good way, some people in a bad way say that sometimes he's a bit too off the cuff. But I'm excited for what the Lions have, and regardless of whether you have Russell or Bigger 10. If it's either of them, I'm happy. If they start Farrell at 10, which I'd probably prefer to see Farrell at 12 if he is playing, I'd be happy with Bigger or Russell. So, yeah. Yeah, or not Farrell. No, yeah.
Completely catch South Africa off guard. Why not have Bigger at 12 and have Finn at 10?
Or the other way around.
Or the other way around, yeah.
I'd look at Henshaw 13.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
What a midfield.
Beautiful.
Exactly. There you go. Warren, if you need any more help, Warren, just give me a call.
The new coaching, if anyone's been good or ill with COVID, the new coaching staff is right here.
Definitely.
Well, you played a game.
We could be consultants. We'll come in. Yeah, we can be.
Murray,
we could be
your
consultants.
question
We'll
you
come
were
in as
given.
consultants and help them.
Yeah, so my question was also from Callum. He kind of done a two-parter, but kind of covered it. First part in the first bit of the show, it was like our rugby background, but we covered that at the start. But he also wanted to know who our favourite rugby player was ever and why. So, Simeon, I'll start with you.
Well, for me, he's a bit controversial in the news at the moment, but it would be Henry Slade. Type 1 diabetic like me. Obviously, when I started growing up with rugby, it was Dan Bigger, and it was always Dan Bigger for his big arena in the World Cup. That's where I started really falling in love with rugby. And he won the game against England. You're gonna love that, and he's always been loved in Wales ever since, and he'll be loved forever for that game. I always grew up very much Dan Bigger, and when I became diabetic, I learned about Chris Pennell and Henry Slade. Obviously, Henry Slade, from when I started watching him, he wasn't really in the England squad, and now he's a regular starter. So I think he's really, for me, inspired me to go places with. Even though I don't really play anymore, he's inspired me to say nothing can stop you. You can be the best you can be and be type 1 diabetic. Obviously, he's been controversial recently. Please all do get the vaccine. On a side note, I've had my second. I'm diabetic. I am fine. And I've had Oxford. So, on that side note, just thought I get that out there. Get the vaccine, but understandably, politics aside, there are issues sometimes with diabetes and vaccines and stuff. So, but Diabetes UK do recommend it. So get that. But yeah, Henry Slade for me, very, very inspirational.
But Sean, who's your favourite player and why? I feel like I already know that, but
yeah, my favourite player of all time is Brian O'Driscoll. A bit of a typical answer, probably not one that rugby nerds would probably appreciate. But no, look, I just loved watching him on the weekend. Turned it up for Leinster and Ireland. He was I wanted to be an outside centre, but unfortunately I wasn't good enough. And I idolised Brian O'Driscoll. He's a brilliant player on an attack and defence. Absolute leader for Ireland, and obviously he led the Lions as well. I love playing him. I love watching him play. Recently, obviously he hasn't been playing. He's been retired. Is it 7 years now? Wow, that's hard to believe. I think it's 7 or 6 years. 6 or maybe 6. But I have other players that I like, but none of them come close to Brian O'Driscoll.
I've got.
Murray.
So I've kind of got three answers. So my first ever
Murray,
favourite player. He's the whole reason I played rugby. He's the whole reason I bought a kicking tee. It was Chris Patterson of Scotland. Such an absolute legend at fullback. Highly underrated somehow. Every time I discuss him, it feels like nobody really bats an eyelid. They just kind of take my word for it. That over 100 caps for Scotland, most point scorer in Scottish rugby history. It doesn't go unnoticed. I've been fortunate enough to meet Chris on more than one occasion, and he's always been great with me. Always speaks quite happily. My first international player was actually Matt Ononu. I just loved the way he carried himself. He was such a big. I've always been a bigger player. So seeing how like he used his weight, it really helped me growing up. And I think I always just wanted his boots. He always had really nice like Adidas boots that I could never get. And obviously like when I started like properly getting into rugby, Dan Carter, his big impact. He's a big reason why I wanted to keep kicking as well or play the way I do. And like my son's named after Dan Carter, so like it tells you how much of an impact he had on me growing up. Yeah, but great question, Callum. Getting me and Sean to get your question, so fair play to you, mate. Simeon, you got a good question?
And we've got Kyle Barrett
Kyle,
for
yes.
what is something World Rugby needs to clamp down on or ease off on? Sean.
Yeah, you lads, you know what I'm going to say when the episode that we tried last week that didn't come out due to technical issues. I'm going to say it again. I would like to see rugby go down to 13 aside. Now, I know what you're going to say. Simon, you said it last week that why don't you just go to sevens, go to the space. But I think genuinely, obviously it's not nice. The 13 is the code of rugby league. Or like 14 would be ideal just for that little bit of extra space, but obviously that doesn't work with forwards and backs. That's a terrible number. I think 13 aside could work in terms of making the game a little bit safer. Is kind of that's my kind of safety and kind of just me being a back. I think because to be a bit more space, there's less of these kind of head-on collisions. A little bit more space. It's not the same as sevens. 7 aside against 13 aside it's not exactly the same as sevens, but I get your point. But I would like to see 13 aside, just a bit more space, because I feel like sometimes, or the offside line just to be ref properly. I would like to see just the offside line to be clamped down on, help from the assistant referees. Yeah, like 13 aside, bit more space. Bit of throw the ball around more, because sometimes there's like nearly no space, and I said it before, the All Blacks, they often come up on the offside line. A lot of teams do it, and why don't you? If referees sometimes aren't going to referee them properly, coming up on the offside line where there's nearly like no space, and like by the time you're getting the ball, there's a player right in front of you, So those are just two things I would change.
The head contact area, like yes, especially in the Prem, like they have been dealing with it a lot better than they have, but I keep saying it. And I'm not a ref. Like, I want to clarify, I am not a referee. I do have a lot of respect for refs. Not Simeon. No,
10 minutes off you go. I felt the second yellow anyway.
I think that's deserves a red. I think that's a sending off.
No, so my big issue that we need to calm down on is if it is anywhere from here up as a red card. Regardless if it is deliberate or unintentional, whatever, if you make contact in this area here, where my microphone is now, for the viewers, just below my neck, for the listeners, if it goes anywhere above that, it is a red card. It is player safety at the end of the day. You don't want to see players, like, I'm not going to say it's politically correct, but you don't want to see like them a shell of what they once were. I don't want to see, like, I'm just going to say it because he has got a lot of concussion issues. I don't want to see Johnny Sexton in like 10 years' time sitting as a pundit or as a guest pundit in a wheelchair. I don't want that. I want to see him be a coach and like be very active after his playing career as well. Not just as a rugby fan. Like, obviously, he's got a family as well, and it might be me being selfish or that I want to see him that. But I don't want to see players, not just Sexton, any player. I don't want to see them constantly take head knocks and then just like nothing get done about it.
Yeah, I think. Alright, on mine, I'm going to go off partly what Murray said, and then I'm going to talk about one petty referee thing I have. What Murray's, and I think you said that perfectly. If you want to play professional modern rugby, learn to adapt or go away.
Yep.
You learn to tackle low. I've watched Welsh second rows in training, or any second rows in training, 6'6" men, they tackle around the ankles in training. Why can't they do it in the game? I do not know. Why can't players adapt to what referees say? I don't know. Partially, if a referee's refereing something wrong, but they're consistently refereeing it wrong, adapt to it, because then they'll make your game easier. If you want to, you can do it wrong then. And especially at professional rugby, like we look at the Champions Cup final. That is a final, and there is a red card in it.
Yep.
Adapt to the game or don't play rugby. Yes, I know people are saying it's gone soft.
No.
It's not gone soft. It's safety of players, and if you can't know that or learn it, don't do rugby. And I do rugby league. You can tackle. I know it's slightly different. I'm not the biggest expert on rugby league. You can tackle higher than that, and how they want you to tackle is what a lot of people are doing. So people play, and it's more the pros. I think at lower levels it is getting better. They are learning more because you can drill it into them at a young age. But with professionals, there's so many red cards at the moment because they are not adapting, and I don't get why it's not happening. What I'd like more clamped down on is off feet. It is getting better, but rugby is a game, as it says, played on its feet. Stay on your feet in a ruck. Stay up. Because if you go down, and what I am liking seeing is attacking teams are getting pulled up on it a lot more. So if you go attacking team and you just dive straight off your feet, it's a penalty. And a lot of with the diving, it gets dangerous. I mean, we saw in the Six Nations 2 red cards from it. You've got to be safe. It's that comes down to the player safety thing again. Stay on your feet. It's safer, and you're in a stronger position. You hold that, it makes it more skillful. But that needs to be clamped down on a bit more. But it is getting better, and I think it's just something which needs to be more consistently refereed.
Yeah, also just a little shout out to Kyle Barrett. He is kind of like the unofficial fourth member of all this. He keeps our pages going ridiculously strong. He tests me all the time with the brutally tough questions. But
he gets me all the videos I need to analyse in a week if I can't find them. Post them, ditch this, get them on, let's go. It's brilliant. So thank you, Carl.
Yeah, and can I just say really quickly, in fairness to Kyle, I wanted to thank him for he shares everything. He shared even my page the other day, my YouTube channel. He shares the podcast page. He shared, I think, all of our pages at one stage. So thanks a million, Kyle. Yeah, we really appreciate that, Kyle. Thanks.
Teams just because of Kyle alone. I think every day it's combined 15 of Scotland, Wales, Scotland, Ireland, England, Wales.
It's great. I love it.
And then Callum as well now is now Callum Quinn 01 is now jumping on it, and I'm getting it's now 3 teams. I'm like, you know what? I might just change my bio to combined 15 King of TikTok or some stuff like that, just because.
Yeah, combined 15. Blissful Rugby HQ.
There you go. Well, that is us for episode 1. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as we did doing it for you. Sorry it took a week longer than we wanted, but we fixed all the nitty gritty. We're going full go at it. We'll be back next week. More Prem, more Pro 14, probably more reffing incidents known Simeon.
We'll see. Can no more Bristol Leicester, please.
We're going to be having a guest on next week. I'm not telling you who it is.
Stay tuned.
We'll keep you in the dark for that one. But I can share good news. This Thursday coming, so I will give you the date just for the listeners. The 11th of June. No, 10th of June, sorry. Yeah, 10th of June. Just double checking. I will be at Higher Fife Rugby Club where I train, interviewing British and Irish legend David Rollo. David was part of the 1962 tour to South Africa. I'm going to do a one-on-one interview with him, and it will be exclusive to our YouTube page. Right, Sean? Yep. So if you could maybe just put in maybe one question across our pages again, just for David.
Absolutely.
And I'll try and get some in while I've got the chance to sit down with him. We're going places, and we hope you're on the journey with us. So yeah.
Thank you all. A very quick note from me. Thank you again for
everyone. Thanks a million for tuning in. Sorry, Simon, what were we going to say?
A lot, and I know a lot of you boys and girls will be listening to this evening when you guys get it out. So thank you very much. And from all of us, we're very grateful you've all been so intrigued and want to listen to this. So it's great that we can voice our opinions, and we can't wait to hear your feedback.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks a million, everyone, and we'll see you all next week. Hello, everyone. Thanks a million for watching the first episode and making it this far of the Rugby Connection podcast. Please make sure to leave a review if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Please share the podcast. If you're on YouTube, share the page. Please like and comment. We really appreciate it. It's the only way that can help us grow the channel. And with that, we'll see you all next week.